Hi, I'm Tim Butler and I like movies. Now, you can usually tell when a movie is made, judging by, say, the music, or the look, or who's in it, and maybe even just the all-around feel of it. Now, oftentimes this isn't a distraction, but sometimes time just is not kind. And that being said, I'm gonna give you my top 5 dated movies.
Number 5. Superman.
Look, I'll give credit where credit is due. Superman is to comic book movies as Citizen Kane is to movies in general. It set the standard for comic book movies, and really movies like Iron Man and Spider-Man owe the world to Richard Donner's Superman. And for that, I respect this movie. However, Superman is not without its substantial, previously overlooked faults.
First, let's look at the antagonist. Lex Luthor. Businessman. Genius. Superman's arch nemesis. They basically turn him into comic relief. I mean, not to the same extent that they do in the sequel, but in general, basically they just make him this two-dimensional goofball who comes up with these ridiculous schemes to which his sidekicks either insult or worship, and he just poses no actual threat to the Man of Steel, at least not a plausible one. That brings up another question. How did the concept of spinning the world backwards in order to turn back time pop into Superman's head? How did he know it would work? How did he know that such a drastic alteration of one of the world's most basic natural functions wouldn't, I don't know, have any negative repercussions, like, I don't know, worldwide earthquakes, or giant tidal waves, or hurricanes, or Lord knows what? What a shock that would have been to him when he landed back on Earth. Oh look, every city is pretty much completely destroyed by something I directly caused, leaving countless injured and killed. And hey look, Lois is still dead. I don't really know why I thought that spinning the world backwards would turn back time. Oh well, live and learn I guess. The last of my problems is the byproduct of this movie's groundbreaking special effects. They put a lot of effort into making Superman fly convincingly, so they wanted to show it off to its full potential and get as much out of it as they could. After all, the tagline of the movie was, "You'll believe a man can fly." And today, the effects they used on Superman still look pretty good. But look at this. Just look at it. That does not work. Let me spell it out for you. This is what would happen. Not this. This. One could say it's just a movie and I should give it a break. But no. I'm willing to exercise my suspension of disbelief, but only within the context of the film. Yes, I believe this man can fly. He's an alien, I'm okay with that. But you'd better give me a darn good reason why this random human girl can fly too when she holds Superman's hand. Make sense! Unfortunately, the special effects revolving around Superman just aren't impressive enough anymore to make up for these shortcomings. It's not an awful movie, just really dated. Number 4. Streetcar Named Desire.
If you aren't familiar with the Tennessee Williams play, I'll give you a brief synopsis.
It's a miserable story about miserable people in the miserable slums of New Orleans who do miserable things to one another, making all the characters all the more miserable and detestable. Every character in this godforsaken piece of stage work is absolutely loathsome in one way or another. I hate it. I hate it a lot. And guess what? It's considered to be one of the greatest plays ever, as well as having one of the best film adaptations ever.
Don't you forget it. Fighting.
Okay, it is well acted. Its credits include Marlon Brando, Carl Malden, and Vivian Lee, and was directed by the very capable Elia Kazan. And as far as context for the time goes, there was no play as dark and innovative as this, which thoroughly caught the public's attention. But after the shock wears down, it's just an unpleasant bore. Stanley is a jerk, Stella an idiotic victim, Blanche a psycho, and Mitch a sad sack. Any of these things could be interesting, but they just made all the characters so unpleasant, predictable, and dull that you don't really care about the things that happen to them or how things might turn out for them.
A Streetcar Named Desire is really the kind of thing that should only be viewed by scholars, critics, writers, and directors. I mean, there's a lot that writers and directors really can learn a lot from in this piece, such as, creating really dark antagonists or really, really, really flawed characters. But beyond that, A Streetcar Named Desire is really nothing more than a textbook example of jerkdom. So, as far as entertainment value goes, it's pretty worthless.
Number 3. West Side Story. West Side Story is something of a musical adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, revolving around two street gangs in New York in the 1950s. The man who composed the music for this piece of work, Leonard Bernstein, was something of a Renaissance man of a musician, having written and composed an opera, a couple film soundtracks, a number of musicals, and of course, a good deal of standalone pieces, all while being one of the top conductors in the business, recording more music than just about anybody.
He also had a successful TV series known as Concerts for Young People, in which he would host and conduct his orchestra on. Title of that show considered, he thought of himself to be someone who would be able to pull off writing music that would reflect the younger crowd.
Needless to say, West Side Story does have some very good music in it. The direction of the esteemed Robert Wise is top-notch as well. However, some of the singing and dancing is just... well, listen.
The Jets are gonna have their day tonight. The Jets are gonna have their way tonight. The Puerto Ricans grumble, fair fight. But if they start a rumble, we'll rumble them right. We said okay, no rumpus, no tricks. But just in case they jump us, we're ready to mix.
Tonight, I'll see my love tonight, and for us stars will stop.
We're gonna watch Bernardo drop tonight.
Like A Streetcar Named Desire, there was a lot of serious talent involved in this movie. But I'm sorry, 50s New York greasers doing the splits in midair while snapping their fingers and singing in that adorable, syncopated, oh-so-hip and tough way is something of which I cannot restrain from cringing at and losing all sense of seriousness I was open to holding the movie in.
Again, there is some really quite good music in this musical. It's just what they try to portray as tough and cool comes across as so silly. And that's something that just doesn't fly well in a Romeo and Juliet setting.